you doing, young man?
Brad, how you doing, buddy?
All right.
Got them under control here.
I'm doing my best. Some days I think I am, but other days I'm not.
Congratulations, wherever it is you're heading. Is that a secret?
I'll share it.
You can tell me, I'll keep your secret.
That's right.
Careful, you're on YouTube.
I don't blame you, I'd be going back to Wyoming too.
I'll say that.
You rule that out, huh?
You're sending a tie to Wyoming.
Yeah, she's got the Wyoming shirt on.
What's he pointing at?
Hi, Jim. Okay.
Just cheering for me. Cheer for our neighbors.
Yes. Oh, we don't? Jeremy, well, we have 1 minute.
I saw you walking by my rental the other day.
And praying in today.
Okay, we don't
My
have
pastor's not here yet. Won't tell.
It's 4:30, we're early. Ready.
This was missing from your pack.
Oh,
But you already know it, so.
yeah,
Thanks, Brent.
Thanks, Brent.
but I didn't bring it, so thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You did charge the press $1 for that. Just kidding, Todd, just kidding. All right, everyone, welcome to the City Council meeting here March 15th, 2022, beginning at 5:30 in a few seconds. Calling the meeting officially to order. Our invocation is Pastor Jeremy Rinke, but I don't see the pastor in the audience. Mr. Reeker, would you grace us with a prayer, please?
Dear Lord, thank you for this community that we live in. Thank you for the many blessings and the bounty that you've given us as citizens of the United States, for the freedom to live our lives in accordance with your will, to strive to follow you to the best of our abilities, and for us as a council, that in our deliberations, that all that we do and think and say, the decisions that we make, will bring you honor and praise and glory. We bring to you all of our elected representatives and officials across our land, that they will seek you as well. They will strive to follow you as well, and that our land will be preserved and our freedoms will be enshrined. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Roll call, please, Angie.
Nisley,
Here.
Tryon. Here. Old,
Here.
Lucas,
Here.
Gary.
Here.
Harmon,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Woods.
Here. Thank you. Open Meetings Act. Open Meetings Act. Goodness. A current copy of the Open Meetings Act of Nebraska is posted on the wall at the back of the council chambers. Meeting procedure. The public may address specific agenda items at the pleasure of the mayor. If recognized by the mayor, please identify yourself by stating your name and address. Please address the council through the mayor and limit your remarks. We respect our city employees and request that any complaints or criticisms of employees not be aired in a public meeting. Concerns about employees should be brought to the attention of the city administrator or mayor. Individuals in violation will be declared out of order. Awards and accolades. Tonight, we get to do some awards and accolades. You might notice that we have crime well under control here in city council chambers tonight, or this evening. And it's actually because we get the pleasure of doing some promotions and adding a couple folks to our police force this evening, which is very exciting. So thank you all for being here. I would ask that you come up and start over there in front of Mr. Nisley and face the crowd. And the first person we have here is Mr. Kendall Allison. He has 6 years of service with the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office, 2 years of service with the Alliance Police Department, in a brief well, they stole him away from North Platte briefly. Okay, anyway. 32 years of service in the North Platte PD and recently promoted to lieutenant. Next, we have Jim Hagan, who has 17 years of service in North Platte PD, recently promoted to investigator. Next, we have Adam Charter, 14 years of service with the North Platte PD, recently promoted to investigator. Matt Elder, next, 4 years of service with the Ogallala PD and 6 years of service in the North Platte Fleet Department, recently promoted to investigator. And new to our force, we have Scott Miller, recently graduated from Nebraska Law Enforcement Training Center and a probationary police officer. And certainly last but not least, we have Officer Trevor Picard, 2 years of service with the Keith County Sheriff's Office and a probationary police officer. And I get the joy of swearing them in. The honor, not the joy. All right, everyone, thank you for being here. These jobs come with a lot of complexity, a lot of difficulty, a lot of challenges, and hopefully a lot of honor and respect from your citizens. So thank you for doing this difficult job that you do every day. If you would please raise your right hands. I'll try not to read too far ahead like I did to Chief Reeves when I was swearing him in. I, state your name.
I, Kendall.
Thank you. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska against all enemies.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Nebraska against all enemies.
Foreign and domestic, that I bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and I take this obligation freely and without mental reservation or for the purpose of evasion.
Foreign and domestic, that I bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely and without mental reservation or for the purpose of evasion.
And that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties as a police officer for the city of North Platte according to law and to the best of my ability.
And that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties as an investigator for the city of North Platte according to law and to the best of my ability.
And I do further swear that I do not advocate, nor am I a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence.
And I do further swear that I do not advocate, nor am I a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence.
And that during such time as I am in this position, I will not advocate nor become a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or of this state by force or violence, so help me God.
And during such time as I am in this position, I will not advocate nor become a member of any political party or organization that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States or this state by force or violence, so help me God.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Hold on. Did everybody get their pictures? You did. Okay, that's good. You make doesn't have to all leave or feel entirely safe.
Mom and Dad. Yeah.
Well, it's very nice to have some additional policemen and to see some promotions here in North Platte. That's very exciting. Okay, consent agenda. All matters under consent agenda are considered by the city council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. Any city council member may, however, remove an item from consent by request. Item number 1, approve minutes of March 1 and March 9, 2022. Item number 2, send the application for North 40 Chop House LLC for a Class C liquor license, beer, wine, and distilled spirits on and off sale at 520 North Jeffers Street to the Nebraska Liquor Control Commission with no recommendation. Number 3, approve the application by Nebraska Land Days, Inc. for a special designated license on April 29, 2022 from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. at the Dean Event Center, 501 East Walker Road for a fundraiser. Item number 4, approve appointment of Randy Billingsley to the North Platte Airport Authority. Item number 5, approve the appointment of Greg Wilkie to the Community Development Authority.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Motion Reeker, second Nisley. Calling the question on the consent agenda. Consent agenda is passed. Moving on to the regular agenda. Let's see. Item number 6. Sorry, I have kind of a confusing agenda tonight, so I have to make sure I don't mess something up here as I go. Item number 6, authorize the mayor to execute health and accident contracts for the city's self-insuring health and accident plan beginning on April 1, 2022.
I move to authorize the mayor to execute health and accident contracts for the city's self-insuring health and accident plan beginning April 1st, 2022.
Second.
Motion Garrick, second Carmen. On item number 6, do we have discussion on item number 6?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Lucas, you have the floor.
I'd like to move an amendment to add to the current motion that a committee be formed within this next renewal period by yourself, Mayor, to thoroughly examine our overall health insurance benefit program to continue to look at ways to improve it.
Second.
Hold on, I'm taking notes. Okay, so that was a motion by Lucas and a second by Garrick to form a mayor-appointed committee to examine health insurance, the city's health insurance program in an effort to understand the costs and save money. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I guess I was not thinking about just cost savings, but I would think just overall improvement of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess to maybe explain what I'm looking for, is it okay if I go ahead and do a little bit on it
You
now?
made the motion, go
Yeah,
for it, so.
okay. I guess there's several things I'm looking at. First of all, in the plan today, we just have the two offerings, the single and the family offering. We don't have like what you consider a plus one, for example, if an employee wanted to have, just a son or a daughter in the plan. We also don't have an HSA eligible plan for somebody that would desire to use an HSA. And we also don't have a 0% co-insurance plan. So that's just an example of some things that I think we could look at. Also, our costs, our trend line is pretty good on our costs, but our overall total cost, and I'm not referring to the city cost versus the employee cost, but if you look at the total cost, I think it continues to sit higher than a lot of the averages. And so I think just throughout this next year, I'd like to have a committee thoroughly look at that and just see if we can improve it for the good of the city and for especially the good of the employees, which is then for the good of the city.
Any discussion on that motion? Did you have some specific language written up, or?
No, I didn't.
Did you get the motion, the amendment?
I think I could repeat it if I need to.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think I was looking to just amend the current motion to request that within this next renewal cycle, that a mayor-appointed committee be established to review the health insurance benefit program and look to improve it.
Okay. Everyone, Mr. Carmen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not, I don't have any problem with doing a committee to try to do better on our insurance costs. I think there are probably some good things we could take a look at out there and improve that. But isn't that what the guy, I can't think of his name, came to us and recommended the current company to us? Isn't that what his job was to do, is to look at trying to affect the cost saving while he was at it? I mean, isn't that what he was supposed to already have done for us? Just asking.
Being real frank about it, Mr. Carmen, one thing I was very disappointed in our presentation last week was that there wasn't a lot of talk about, here's recommendations for alterations of the plan or improvements to the plan. We don't have comparison data on how we stand compared to other municipalities of our nature. And so, and maybe a lot of that is occurring, but it just isn't presented to us on an annual basis. But in the several years I've been on this council, I don't feel like we've taken a thorough review of the health insurance program.
I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would just add that in this form of a government, we do spend time reviewing that. I'll tell you, I've had lengthy discussions about HSAs, and as a self-funded program, HSAs cause challenges for the self-funding portion of the plan. If you pull people off of the regular rate structure, then the amount of money that's available to provide for, you end up driving the rates up for those who aren't participating in the standard plan. Employee plus one, Brandon and I have talked, I think that's a really good option to consider. We've also had those conversations with Apta Health. Again, that scenario is that when you add those plans in, yes, it may result in a reduction, but it's not going to be a very significant reduction. So I'll just share with you as a council, as you look to have this committee, which I think is a good endeavor as well, those conversations have occurred, just so everybody here is aware.
Yeah, and I certainly understand, I didn't mean to imply this as being neglected, but I think we are running at a higher cost than most similar organizations, at least that's what my research indicates. And we do have limited options. We have limited choices for the employees. In my opinion, those are both facts today. And so maybe the answer will be that we don't need to make any changes, but I'd just like to see it thoroughly examined. It is our number 2 expense category of the city after payroll. And so I feel it just deserves a little extra attention. I know we're busy with lots of things going on in the city, but I'd just like to see, if this council chooses this and votes in favor of my amendment, I'd just like to see us prioritize some extra attention to it over the next year in a patient manner. I'm not asking that we do this in the next couple weeks.
Any other discussion on Mr. Lucas's amendment? Okay, calling the question on the amendment. So if we vote in favor of this amendment, if the amendment passes, then it would be made part of the general motion, and then we will back and discuss the general motion. So calling the question on Mr. Lucas's motion. Okay, the motion passes. So creating the committee to review the cost and benefits, in short, of the plan and potential options in the future will be added to the motion. So we're back to the original motion. Do we have any discussion on the original motion plus the addition?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Reeker, you have the floor.
thank you.
Of the 3.5 years I've been on the council, this is probably the most disconcerting vote that I've chosen not to make. When I look at this from a strictly financial standpoint, it makes all kinds of sense for us to go with HCC from a total dollars and cents standpoint, and I know that I and we have to be cognizant of the tax money that our citizens have entrusted into our care and how we spend it. On the other side of that coin, the company that has been recommended is a foreign owned company. It's owned by Tokyo Marine, which interestingly enough, as I looked a little deeper, is actually owned by Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, which is a Japanese company. A friend pointed out to me just before I came to the meeting that there's a lot of dollars in insurance companies that ends up being invested into the local communities and different business enterprises. And so I wonder if, being a foreign company, if those dollars that are sent back to Japan and Mitsubishi, how many of those dollars are actually going to be reinvested in the United States of America. In my lifetime, we have witnessed the greatest deindustrialization of any country in the history of the world. When you drive through Iowa, northern Iowa, there's shuttered Snap-on tool factories where they used to make Snap-on tools up in northern Iowa. They're not made there anymore. Those manufacturing jobs are gone. We hear about the Rust Belt in Ohio and Pennsylvania. Those used to be steel mills. Those steel mills are gone. All the manufacturing is gone. All those jobs are gone. We're fortunate in North Platte right now. We're on the cusp of, for the first time, bringing some major manufacturing industry to our community. And for us as a people to generate wealth, we have to essentially make something from nothing. We have to increase the value of a product. And we're very fortunate in North Platte because we're going to have, the way it looks, a major manufacturer coming to our town that's going to be able to upgrade the value of our local products, beef in particular. And so I'm really torn in this situation that when I look at the dollars that the community will save by going with Tokyo Marine, HCC, Mitsubishi Industries, as opposed to keeping those dollars in the United States of America and how that benefits our whole country, I'm not sure that I'm able to make a decision that really suits what I believe. And so I think at this point I'm going to abstain from voting on this vote.
Okay. We have any other discussion? Tryon, you have the floor.
Thank you. I understand what Ed's saying. I'll probably go ahead and vote for this. However, I think if we do form this committee, that is certainly something we need to look at and maybe make some decisions or recommendations on how we do want to spend our money. Because I too would like to keep it in the United States. Just my thoughts.
Okay. Mr. Woods, you have the floor.
Mr. Mayor, it is a hard vote. I would always like to keep our money in this country, but then again, it's my job to do the best I can with the taxpayers' money too, which are at odds in this situation. What has made my decision for me, I hate to admit, is that due to a lack of investigation, I have no idea where the American company invests their revenue. So if I want to vote to go with an American company, but they invest most of their revenue in Chinese companies. I haven't solved the thing, so I am going to vote yes, that we continue on, and also the fact that we do have a committee in the next year to look at this swayed my vote a lot too.
Okay. Mr. Voles, you have the floor.
I'm just going to give a quick summation. As we've all talked about this, and it has weighed heavily on my mind as well, the one thing with the financial services industry is it is very murky at the top. Looking at Western and Southern, who is a subsidiary owner of Gerber Life, they do have an international funding sources in their portfolio. I tried to look at both companies equally, where Western and Southern is based, I believe, in Columbus. HCC is in Houston, Texas. The bulk of that money is going to those two areas, geographic areas of the nation. And then you look at the fiduciary responsibility, which is what we all had to bounce to, where the savings, potential savings of north of $110,000, and the ratings of the two companies, even if they were even, Tokyo Marine HCC is an A++ rating, where Gerber Life is, and Western and Southern is an A rating. So financially, I think we're making the right decision. It might not be the easy decision, because I am a nationalist as well, but I think for the community, I think we're making the right decision going with HCC and talking to other brokers and other insurance agents as well. They're a large company and very financially stable. So that's my 2 cents on that. So, but it has worn a lot on me today.
Mr. Mayor, I would make one other
Mr.
comment,
Reeker,
if you don't
have the
mind.
floor again.
My comments nor my action, I don't want to cast any aspersions on anybody. And I really want to thank the administration for looking out for the city. I think they've done their due diligence from a cost standpoint, and obviously spent a lot of time reviewing this thing. And so, like I said, this is the most difficult decision I've had to make, and I've chosen to, because I'm having trouble balancing which is more important. So I'm just going to abstain.
Okay. Other comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Lucas?
Yeah, I just want to say I appreciate that we had the information to examine that, and this, I've lost a little sleep on this one too, Pete, so you're not the only one. I tried to boil it down thinking about if we had a bid for a truck, and one was let's say a Mitsubishi truck, and the other was a Ford truck, and they had the same equivalent tools and did the same equivalent job for our city, but one was 15 or 20% lower in price. What would we do? Well, both of those vehicles probably have American components and probably have foreign components, and it's so hard to dissect all that. And so if the cost savings was a much smaller number, I would have more concerns, but to me, the cost savings is just so significant here. But I think your point, Mr. Reeker, is very important, is that we should continue to think about how do we procure vendors for our city that are either one, local, two, part of our state, or three, certainly in the United States as much as we can. So I think it's good for the employees of the city and the city administrator to hear that how we feel about this, because I'm sure that you guys run in these decisions on a consistent basis with smaller scale items.
Seeing no other comments, calling the question on number 6 as amended. Number 6 is passed with 1 abstain. Number 7, adopt the resolution to approve the 1 and 6 road plan for 2022 through 2027. We do have Mr. Berkland over there with his big posters. If anyone would like to ask any questions or take a quick glance at the plan, you do have it in front of you.
Screen too, if it's desired.
Oh, why not? My neck doesn't tilt that way, so, okay, there we go. You want to give us a quick once over there, Brent?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mayor, council,
Oh, hold on just a second. Failed to have someone do a motion, so. I
Mr. Mayor,
apologize.
I move to adopt the resolution to approve the 1- and 6-year road plan for 2022 through 2027.
Second.
Who said second? Mr. Reeker, thank you. Motion Vols, second Reeker, thank you. Mr. Berkland, please tell us what we've got going here, and then we'll ask you questions.
Mayor, council, what you have before you is the 1 and 6 road plan. On March 3rd, we had a public hearing here. It was Thursday, and many of the council were able to make it with their schedules. And we went through in detail the plan, and we had feedback from the community as well, which was good. And the 1 and 6 plan, the program, the state has a plan that we are required as a city to do the public hearing. We also do a financial report that we keep, and we also then evaluate the lane miles of the city. So those are 3 components of the program, and this is one piece of it. And what I have for you guys here, we have a map showing the 1-year plan, and then we have the 2 through 6. And on the one is kind of the simplest as far as that's what we're looking at doing this coming year. And if I were to highlight the areas, what we have is 9th Street. We have the design for 9th Street as you move from the top to the bottom. Lakeview is going to be starting here in a few weeks. That's on the 1 year for the construction. On the one-ways, it's the design. That's Dewey and Jeffers. That's a state-led, but the city's participating with. We show also completed projects on William and Reed. William was completed by the hospital, and Reed was the overlay improvement that we did. And we also, I showed on there highlighted a bike trail project, which was a collaborative effort with the city and some private folks as far as getting that project up off the ground and that gap closed. And then also we have Sunrise shown, which is a part that Mid-Plains is going to do. It's going from Menard's entrance to Willow off of Highway 83, and the college is paying for that portion. So that's what we have on the 1 year on this plan in front of you. And then on the second page, there's a lot of colors on here. And what we have on green is last year we did a seal coat. I think a lot of folks noticed around the hospital on Buffalo, we had some short closures while we were sealing, and it's a maintenance product for the asphalt to rejuvenate and extend the life of the asphalt. That was shown in green that we did last fall. And the red is shown for what we're doing this year for asphalt. And again, kind of a heads up, that's starting next week. So those areas in red, you're going to see asphalt mill and overlay beginning, weather permitting and schedule and equipment, those type of things. They've started on Front Street, the red line below the railroad tracks. They've started to work on that. So those are the maintenance. We're calling this kind of the maintenance plan, which is an overlay and seal coating. And then in blue, we have Halligan and East Walker Road shown on there. And the last piece is the longer term. When we say 2 through 6, the state has generically made this a 1 and 6 year plan. 1 meaning what we're looking at doing, and 6 being the longer term. And the 6 year, we have quite a few different items. Many of these are the same as what we had last year, but I would just highlight a few. On the 6 year, the 2 through 6 year window, we have 9th Street construction, the Dewey and Jeffers corridor, and we have some longer term. And 6, I would say, we could say just in the long term horizon, but we have like Walker West Walker Road, Eugene, and we also have State Farm and some areas along in town over their gravel roads, just kind of give you an idea. Those are longer term. They're not gonna happen probably in the next 2 or 3 years, but those are things that we wanna keep a vision for doing construction. The last page, it was just a highlighted, turned the wrong way, so I won't keep it so you don't have to turn your head. But that was just spreadsheet showing costs and project numbers associated with this. And again, this is what we presented in a public meeting on the 3rd, and we had good comments, and specifically there was some discussion on Dixie Avenue. And so we're looking at, as a staff, some different cost options, things like that, to continue the discussion with that section of the community. Does anybody have any questions on what we're looking at in the 1 year?
I do. Mr. Berkman, I just want to make sure I heard you right. You mentioned the design on 9th Street, and I thought I heard you say it had moved from the top of the list to the bottom of the list?
No. It's, what we have is the design is the 1 year, which would be, it basically follows the budget year.
Yeah.
So through September, and then so the 2 through 6 would be next. So we're just showing the construction in the 2-year window. So that we're looking at it, the next budget cycle is what we were looking at.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But officially, it's in the 2 through 6 lump.
Yeah,
in
the
that whole
second
category, correct?
part, yeah.
Yes. So the 1 year is ending in September 30th this year.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Mr. Berkman, I do want to give you kudos. You were very underwhelming with your description of the participation of the audience on your public hearing. I've never seen so many people in a council chamber for the 1 and 6 year road plan. Usually it's not high on people's priority, but you presented a well-formulated plan, listened to everyone's comments and took heed. So I want to thank you. You did a really good job, and I think a lot of really good comments from the citizens came out of that. So just shows government working very well there. So nice job.
Thank you.
Just a question, Mr. Berkman. I'm sad I missed the discussion about Dixie because I know from talking to a lot of the residents there, there's very mixed opinions on what people want to have happen there. So I'm glad you guys recognize that and are working on it. My question was regarding East Walker Road. If it has maintenance scheduled for this year, and I know that the casino licensing process is undetermined at this point and looks like it's going to be a long process, but if the casino project would move forward in the next several years, would there be costs that we would incur maintaining on this maintenance plan that would be lost if that project would move forward?
Councilman Lucas, that's a good question. We did consider that exact thought. We don't want to put money in if there's something that's going to be changed. What we were looking at was, again, it's more on the seal coat version. It's not an overlay. So in the cost scheme, it's definitely going to be the least expensive. The areas that are probably the roughest is south of the lake area on Walker Road. So there's some patching that needs to happen on there, but the seal coat would be more of a maintenance, similar to what was around Buffalo, around the hospital. Not the same type of product, but a similar type of thought process anyway. So,
okay.
And the life expectancy of that type of product is more in the 5-year window.
Okay.
And based on what I'm hearing with the casino, that might dovetail in with that 5-year window as well, that we need to be looking at something again in that time frame.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Berkland, regarding 9th Street in particular, I know it's under design right now to be constructed in this next fiscal year. Is there a possibility that construction could start next fall, this coming fall?
Mr. Reeker, visiting with construction companies, there might be a theoretical chance of bidding it. I don't know if there's a realistic chance of any contractor doing it.
Okay.
Most of the contractors that we know of are full for this year.
Okay,
They're asking things to be bid next year.
okay.
So I don't think even if we wanted to, I don't think that's realistic.
Okay, thank you.
With the market conditions right now.
Brent, just for clarification, next fiscal year, half of that, more than half of it would be in '23. Is it realistic to expect construction to commence in '23?
I guess from my standpoint, it'd probably be, if we were looking at bidding it this fall, it would probably start in '23 and still continue into '24. It might be a couple fiscal year project, meaning if it starts even in the fall. There's a lot to be determined on how the construction world goes right now. Just from the example on our water main project on Dewey and Jeffers, we researched further, and many of those companies for that type of work were full for this calendar year already. There's a lot of ARPA money going out, there's a lot of projects going out, and there's less employees for more work, and that's creating delays on getting projects done. I'm glad we got the asphalt project that we did for the price we did last fall.
Any other questions on the 1 and 6 year road plan? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 7, 1 and 6 year road plan. She's switching it. There we go. Okay. Mr. Rieger, Ms. Tryon, Mr. Woods, would you vote, please? Or vote again, whichever the case may be.
Something.
Try again, Mark.
Try Mark, try again, Mark.
Oh,
There we go. Okay.
I'm getting weak.
Item number 7 passes. Item number 8, third reading and action on ordinance number 4088 to create a street improvement district number 349 for Ndor, project number NH-83-2130 and project number NH-83-2132 for the improvements on US Highway 83 in North Platte from First Street to Leota Street. Mr. Kibben, would you read the ordinance, please?
An ordinance creating street improvement district number 349 in the city of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, and describing the various streets in said street improvement district and improvements to be constructed therein.
Thank you.
I move to adopt ordinance number 4088 to create street improvement district number 349 as presented in council material on third reading.
Second.
I'll give that one to Ty. Motion Garrick, second Ty Lucas. Any discussion on item number 8? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 8, please vote. Item number 8 is passed. Next, we have a public hearing on item number 9, which is to consider action on ordinance number 4090, amending the North Platte City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 130, General Offenses Firearms, fireworks, Section 130.25, Discharge of Firearms. Mr. Kibben, would you please read the ordinance?
An ordinance of the city of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, amending chapter 130, general offenses, firearms, fireworks, section 130.25, discharge of firearms, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof in pamphlet form.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. Anyone who'd like to make a comment on this subject, you're welcome to approach. Tell us who you are and where you live. To begin, I'm going to ask Judy Clark to come up and just sort of tell us a little bit about what's going on here so we're all on the same page with our information. Judy, first of your steps tonight.
I'm gonna watch on so I can
Okay,
calculate it.
that's good.
Mayor, City Council, this is something that has came up in the past, looking at, some of the regulations. When you're in city limits, you can't discharge firearms. But it kind of came to the forefront during the annexation process because we are proposing to annex some ground that is specifically used for hunting. So in order to allow that type of thing to continue to happen, this is an amendment that we were looking at putting in. What we did with this was put a parameter in there that said on land that's in city limits that is approved by the local government. So that does mean, not everybody now can just willy-nilly go out and discharge a firearm. It has to be on property that is approved by the government, the local government. So it also would open it up for things like if people wanted to do firearm training, they could possibly come in, ask, if they could do it for a certain date and time. And it also would go with the next ordinance, which is a overlay district. So that's kind of the background of it. We did run this by the police department, and Chief Reeves was on board. I was gonna have him say, yes, I was on board, but he left, so. But he is.
Anyone have any questions for Judy while she's up here?
Just have a technical question. Does the three readings present any logistical challenges in this process versus, or is there any big advantages to you to us thinking about trying to move it faster?
Well, the reason we've requested to have it move faster is just so it will coincide with the annexation. Now, that is entirely up to you. It's not really going to, mess anything up if you don't do it, but it would coincide with the annexations if you do that. That way, the property that is in question, everything would be done at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Okay, this is a public hearing, so if anyone in the audience would like to come up and make a statement or ask a question, we'd be happy to hear from you. I'm going to wait about 15 seconds. Five seconds. We would need a motion to close the public
I
hearing.
move to close public hearing.
Second.
Motion to close the public hearing, Pete Vols, second, Ed Reeker, calling the question and closing the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. The council will now consider number 9, action on ordinance number 4090, amending the North Platte City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 130, General Offenses Firearms, Fireworks, Section 130.25, Discharge of Firearms.
I'm
Sorry. Go ahead.
I move to waive the 3 required readings on ordinance number 4090, and I move to adopt ordinance number 4090 regarding the discharge of firearms.
Second.
Motion Vols, second Nisley, on item number 9. Do we have any discussion on item number 9? And I would just remind the council that the motion is to waive the 3 readings, so theoretically it would be approved in 1 reading if the council votes to approve it. So, any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, this is probably
Mr.
better.
Reeker, you have the floor.
Excuse me, probably a better question for Judy, but will there be some restrictions on the types of firearms that can be discharged in that area?
Essentially, Mayor, Councilman Reeker, essentially, we didn't put an actual restriction on there, but there are restrictions through Game and Parks Commission, through, any other entity that controls firearms. There would be those restrictions, but we didn't put that burden on the city to decide which firearms could be discharged.
I guess what I was thinking about in particular, if there's gonna be deer hunting out there, potentially we could be looking at some rifles that would be discharged out there, and, we could be reasonably close to some housing and even to the airport for that matter. So I'm just wondering if maybe we ought to think that through a little bit and see what kind of firearms we want to discharge.
Mr. Mayor, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's covered in the Nebraska Game and Parks regulations. They have to be so far away from structures in order to discharge a rifle. Yeah, I think that's covered there. I thought about that too. I had the question about a fouling piece, so I had to actually look it up, and it's basically a shotgun, so kind of named in the other stuff. But I think we're okay here, because other government entities take over that jurisdiction.
I believe it's 300 yards.
I think it is too. Yeah.
400 yards, maybe?
300.
300, okay.
Yep.
Other comments or questions on item number 9?
Just real quick, the reason, and doesn't seem to be a deterrent, but I did want this to coincide with our friends to the, with Central. So that's why I'm waiving the 3 readings on this one, so thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Calling the question on item number 9, please vote. Item number 9 passes. We now have another public hearing on item number 10 to consider action on ordinance number 4091, amending the North Platte Code of Ordinances, Chapter 156, zoning, adding sections 156.260 and 156.261 relating to the establishment of the City of North Platte Public Power and Irrigation Overlay District. This is a public hearing, and I need Mr. Kibben to read the ordinance, please.
An ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, adopting and adding sections 156.260 and 156.261 inclusive to the zoning ordinances of the City of North Platte relating to the establishment of the City of North Platte Public Power and Irrigation Overlay District, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Thank you. Okay, opening the public hearing officially. Judy, you want to give us a quick 2 seconds on how this is different than number 9, please? And any other relevant facts you'd like to add?
Mayor, council, this again is an overlay district, and this is kind of what's brought to the attention during the annexation process. The city of North Platte does have a lot of river ground, a lot of other areas that would be open for some types of things like hunting, for instance. This one in particular would serve Central Public Power and Irrigation District and their property, so that some of the city codes do not actually pertain in this overlay district. Most overlay districts are more restrictive. This overlay district would actually be less restrictive than some of our codes are. And it opens us up so that in the future, if we do annex properties, again, because we are between 2 rivers, if we do annex properties that are prime for hunting areas, this would allow us the way to get to another overlay district. It wouldn't have to be the same, but it could be very similar to how Central's is proposed.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Judy while she's here? Ms. Tryon, you have the floor.
Thank you. Do we currently have any other overlay districts within the city?
Mayor, Councilwoman Tryon, yes, we do. We have a downtown historic overlay district, and then we also have the airport overlay district. Those in the downtown, of course, has some additional restrictions on historic preservation, and the airport has additional restrictions on height requirements. I mean, that's to simplify it. It's a lot more than that, but that's kind of where we're at with those. Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Lucas?
Just a quick comment to you, Judy. I know you had to scurry to put this together to keep it all in the same timeline, but I think that shows a lot of professional courtesy to Central in timing it all together. So I appreciate your efforts on that. I'm sure that you had to really work to get this to all coordinate. So thank you.
Thanks, Judy. Anyone else? Okay, public hearing. Anyone from the public who would like to? Aha, we see a familiar face rising.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Mike Drain. I am with the Central Nebraska Public Power and Irrigation District. We are headquartered at 415 Lincoln Street in Holdridge, Nebraska. Central's attention to the potential for city zoning and its though so far unfelt, but potential future impacts on our operations sort of became highlighted as a result, as Ms. Clark mentioned, through the annexation process. It has been very much a pleasure to work with Judy and Brent on the development of the overlay zone to assuage some of the concerns that are there. I would, first of all, if you're not at all certain, we would encourage also the waiving of the 3 readings to move this along. The reality is, whether the annexation of our lands occurs or not, we have lands already inside of the city's zoning area, and so we really do think this needs to be addressed. Along that line, as we've been looking into it, we found recently that because you have a 2-mile zoning area, that we will still have some lands that are inside your zoning that aren't covered by this district upon this action, but my understanding is that we'll be looking to add those in and probably in the May meeting. Absolutely support this, whether the annexation of our lands occurs or not, and be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Grain.
Thank you.
Again, still a public hearing. Anyone like to make a comment on this subject? Welcome to approach the mic. We have another person.
I just have some questions.
Okay. We need
With
to-
the annexation.
Hold on just a
Sorry,
second.
Kelly Dykeman, 2502 Cedarberry Lane here in North Platte.
Okay, thank you.
Regarding the annexation, so I've got the picture here. So you're annexing this, and this is where the Central Power District is, correct? Along these lines? Pretty much?
Judy, you want to come up and confirm? I believe that's correct, but yes.
These lines here, basically?
No, they're actually just this little portion down in here.
Just this portion here?
Yep.
Okay, okay. The whole purpose for the annexation is to grow North Platte's landmass, is that correct? So that we can offer TIF and things like that, correct? Do I understand that correctly?
That's what's been stated in previous meetings, yes.
Okay. So are there plans, is this going to be enough landmass, or are we going to look at extending our city limits again in a few years? Does anybody know that?
Judy, you want to talk about the annexation plan?
Judy Clark, Mayor, Council. Yes,
Judy,
the
Judy,
city of
pull the mic over towards you so the folks can home.
Several months back, the city of North Platte put together an amendment to our comprehensive plan, and that was an annexation study or future plan study. So there were areas indicated for a, first, second, and third type of looking at whether or not we were going to do that. We didn't put years on those. Okay. But we did put, these areas should possibly be looked at first, these areas should be looked at second, these areas should be looked at third. So I can't give you a time frame.
Okay.
But yes, we do have a plan. You're more than welcome to stop by my office. I can get you a copy of it. But there is a plan that's part of our comprehensive plan of future outlook for annexation.
Okay. I think that was pretty much it. Do we have, I know this is very quick, but talking about the annexation for the airport, we're not doing our airport service anymore at this time. So is that going to change the plans for the annexation and any airport park that we're wanting to do? Is that going to change that at all?
Are you talking about the SkyWest announcement?
Yes.
So SkyWest continues to provide service into June.
Okay.
And they have to apply to the Department of Transportation to stop that service.
Okay.
So since finding a replacement will probably be challenging, it's unlikely they'll actually stop in June.
Okay.
So I don't think the two are tied together in any way.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Still a public hearing. Anyone else? Okay, 15 seconds. Last chance, 5 seconds.
Move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, motion Carmen, second Garrick to close the public hearing. Calling the question on closing the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. Thank you. Item number 10 then for the council is to consider action on ordinance number 4091, amending the North Platte Code of Ordinances, Chapter 156, zoning, adding sections 156.260 and 156.261 relating to the establishment of the City of North Platte Public Power and Irrigation Overlay District.
I move to waive the three required readings on ordinance number 4091, and I move to adopt ordinance 4091 regarding the establishment of the City of North Platte Public Power and Irrigation Overlay District.
Second.
Motion Vols, second Lucas. We have any discussion on item number 10? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 10. Item number 10 is passed. Item number 11, third reading and action on ordinance number 4081, annexing certain land referred to as Study Area 2021-1-Erickson in the 2021 City of North Platte Annexation Study, East 4th Street and East Highway 30. Mr. Kibben, would you read the ordinance, please?
An ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska to annex certain land, Study Area 2021-2, no.
One.
Sorry.
This is one,
Yes.
sorry.
2021-1 Erickson, North Highway 30 and west of Newberry, and more fully described herein to make provision for the extension of services to inhabitants of territory annexed, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Thank you. There is a statement here I need to add on. For the record, the minutes will reflect formal compliance with the requirement of subsection 16-1306 of Nebraska state statutes. We would need a motion to proceed.
I move to adopt ordinance number 4081, annexing certain land referred to as Study Area 2021-1, Erickson in the 2021 City of North Platte Annexation Study, East 4th Street and East Highway 30 on second reading.
Second.
Motion Garrick, second Carmen.
This would be third reading, though.
It's third reading.
This is third reading.
Yeah, I think
Oh.
it's incorrect.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Would you like to amend your motion?
Okay. I move to adopt ordinance number 4081, annexing certain land referred to as Study Area 2021-1, Erickson in the 2021 City of North Platte Annexation Study, East 4th Street and East Highway 30 on third reading.
Okay.
Second.
Motion Garrick, second Vols. Okay. Any discussion on item number 11? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 11. Item number 11 passes. Item number 12. Whoever might be motioning, please pay attention to that second, third, in case we have another typo in there, please. Item number 12, third reading and action on ordinance number 4082, annexing certain land referred to as Study Area 21-2-Kroll in the 2021 City of North Platte Annexation Study, East 4th Street and East Highway 30. Mr. Gibbon, would you please read the ordinance?
An ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska to annex certain land, Study Area 2021-2, Kroll, north of Highway 30 and east of Newberry, as more fully described herein to make provision for the extension of services to inhabitants of territory annexed, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Thank you. For the record, the minutes will reflect formal compliance with the requirement of subsection 16-1306 of Nebraska state statutes.
I move, go ahead.
I'll go ahead. I move to adopt ordinance number 4082, annexing certain land referred to as Study Area 2021-2, Kroll in the 2021 City of North Platte Annexation Study, East 4th Street and East Highway 30 on third reading.
Second.
Motion Nisly, second Vols. Any discussion on item number 12? Mr. Vols, you have the floor.
Just real quick, I wanted to catch everyone up to speed. The general manager of Kroll did contact me prior to the last council meeting. We had our second reading vote, and the next day I did call the general manager to explain my vote and how it was proceeding with the council. And he was very appreciative, very congenial, and overall in agreement of what we were doing. So I just wanted to make that known that they are on board with this project as well, so.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, calling the question on item number 12. Please vote. Item number 12 is passed. Item number 13, third reading and action on ordinance number 4083, annexing certain land referred to as study area 2021-3, airport south of Highway 30 and east of Newberry, Cnpp property in, starting over, number 13. Third reading and action on ordinance number 4083, annexing certain land referred to as study area 2021-3 airport south of Highway 30 and east of Newberry in the 2021 City of North Platte Annexation Study, East 4th Street and East Highway 30.
Mayor Keller.
Oh, sorry, please read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska to annex certain land, study area 2021-3 airport, south of Highway 30 and east of Newberry, as more fully described herein, to make provision for extension of services to inhabitants of territory annexed, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Thank you.
I move to adopt ordinance number 4083, annexing certain land referred to as study area 2021-3 airport, south of Highway 30 and east of Newberry in the 2021 City of North Platte Annexation Study, East 4th Street and East Highway 30 on third reading.
Motion Garrick, yep, I gotta read this, hold on. Motion Garrick, second Carmen. For the record, the minutes will reflect formal compliance with the requirement of subsection 16-136 of Nebraska state statutes. Do we have any discussion on item number 13?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Lucas, you have the floor.
Yeah, just wanted to point out that I've had a number of constituents ask me about is TIF and the increase of the land mass the reason for doing this. And I think it's one of the reasons for doing this. By increasing land mass, we increase our 35% cap. We've talked about that, which creates more TIF availability. But we don't want to forget, too, that business activities in this area that would be sales taxable would then be subject to the additional 1.5%. And all real estate that's taxed in this area would be subject to the city mill levy, which is all revenues for the city. And most importantly, or maybe as much importantly as the others, if somebody was to build in this area, in particular the sewer and water is a really, really big deal. If you've ever talked to the owners of Powell's Brewery about being outside of city limits and starting with the septic tank originally, and which was maybe unusual for a brewery anyway, but the access to that infrastructure is really important for commercial development. And so I just want to make sure, especially in light of the changes with the airline, I think having all those city services and being able to tax for it is just as important as the land mass. The other thing I've learned is that a lot of large retailers, restaurant chains, things like that, monitor cities' land mass growth rates to target. That's an easy way for them to monitor cities from outside and identify places for future expansion. And so that's one of the other benefits we gain with the bigger land mass.
Mr. Carmen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Probably okay to note that this annexation was requested by an entity within that area.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Other comments? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 13. Item number 13 is passed. Item number 14, third reading and action on ordinance number 4089, annexing certain land referred to as Study Area 2021-3, Airport south of Highway 30 and east of Newberry CNPP property in the 2021 City of North Platte Annexation Study East 4th and East Highway 30. Mr. Kipman, please read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska to annex certain land, Study Area 2021-3, Airport, south of Highway 30 and east of Newberry, CNPP property as more fully described herein, to make provision for extension of services to inhabitants of territory annexed, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
For the record, the minutes will reflect formal compliance with the requirement of subsection 16-1306 of Nebraska state statutes.
I move to adopt ordinance number 4089, annexing certain land referred to as Study Area 2021-3, Airport, south of Highway 30 and east of Newberry CNPP property in the 2021 City of North Platte Annexation Study East 4th Street and East Highway 30 on third reading.
Second.
Motion Lucas, second Bowles. Any discussion on item number 14? Hold on just a second. Any council discussion? Okay, Mr. Drain, I'll give you a couple minutes.
My apologies, Mayor and council members, if I was supposed to speak on this at an earlier time. Do you need me to restate my name?
We know who you are.
Okay.
Thank you.
Notwithstanding the inclusion of an overlay zone to cover most of the zoning concerns that we would have, Central still has the preference that we not have our lands included within the city. We have no intent of making use of city services like sewer and water, and not going to develop it like you would see in a typical city. And we just don't know whether or not there's other consequences beyond zoning that just could arise in the future as a result of us being added. That being said, I think I've told you before, we're going to respect the decision that the council makes, and we're not going to appeal or otherwise challenge the decision you make. But did want you to be aware that we don't see the need for the inclusion of our lands, and our preference is to not. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions, council? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 14. Item number 14 is passed. Item number 15, adopt the resolution providing the designation of First State Bank as a warrant lender, authorizing the execution and delivery of a warrant purchase agreement with such designated warrant lender, and referring to and incorporating the terms and conditions of ordinance number 3874. We would need a motion to proceed.
I move to approve the resolution providing for the designation of First State Bank as a warrant lender, authorizing the execution and delivery of a warrant purchase agreement with such designated warrant lender, and referring to and incorporating the terms and conditions of ordinance number 3874 relating to warrant financing.
Second.
Motion Bowles, second Reeker. Any discussion on item number 15? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 15. Item number 15 is passed. Item number 16, adopt the resolution approving claim and authorizing the issuance of a warrant to First State Bank totaling $20,202.22 to pay approved claim, and referring to and incorporating the terms and conditions of ordinance number 3874 relating to warrant financing passed and approved on May 21, 2013.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant as presented in the materials.
Second.
Motion Bowles, second Nisley. Any discussion on item number 16? Calling the question on item number 16. Item number 16 is passed. Item number 17, approve claims.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the claims.
Second.
Motion Reeker, second Nisley. Sorry, Donna, he beat you there.
I'm sorry, Donna, you wanted to do
I just,
Any comments or questions on approving the claims?
no question on approving the claims. I wondered if Dawn would like to explain the last page on the TIF. I mean, I kind of got my answers, but I don't know if anybody else does, or maybe they don't even care, I don't know.
What is your question?
Oh, on the TIF page, on the last page
Page
of the
17
claims.
of the claims.
Dawn, would you give us a minute or two on the last page there, please?
And then my other question was, is this going to be a report or come out once a year at this time of the year? Do we get this once a year or?
Okay, yes, Mayor Kelleher, Councilwoman Tryon. The last page of the claims reflects the payments that we're requesting council approval for this specific council meeting. What these represent are property tax payments that have been made by the properties with TIF projects on them. The county treasurer remits those to the city, and then the city remits payments to the respective bondholders for the various TIF projects. So that's what these payments actually represent. The timing of them would be tied to the timing that the city receives the payments from the county. So anytime there is a property tax payment received and remitted to the city then creates a claim for your approval to remit payment to the respective bondholder.
So that would probably be once a year,
Anytime. Typically, at least twice on most of the projects with the property tax timing. And then we do occasionally throughout the year have property tax credits or different things that hit the respective accounts, and then we turn those around as quickly as we can through the council process.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dawn. Calling the question on the claims. Okay, the claims are paid. Public agenda request. We respect our city employees and request that any complaints or criticisms of employees not be aired in a public meeting. Concerns about employees should be brought to the attention of the city administrator or the mayor. Individuals in violation will be declared out of order. This is the section of the agenda where if anyone has a public agenda, or excuse me, an agenda request item, they're welcome to approach and tell us what that is, and the council will consider it in the future. Mr. Reeker?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
Motion Reeker, second Carmen to adjourn. Calling the question on adjournment. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the nice weather. I can tell when you start.
No, she was busy, so I didn't ask her before the meeting.
I think I'm gonna go home.
Me too.
Hey, Mark.
How are you, sir?
Fine, how are you?